Welcome. Scott and I are excited to show y'all around Pressbooks and to talk with you a little bit today about how to use this content management system for creating OER materials. So if you click on the link in the chat, oh shoot, record. My bad.
It's already recording. We're good.
Oh, you did it. Oh, thank you. I love you, Scott. You're so on top of it. So if you click on the link in the chat, it will take you to this page that looks like this, which is going to be our agenda and sort of document menu for today. And everything that I'm going to talk you through is available for you in this menu to go back to and kind of look through, and everything that I'm showing you is available here in a hyperlink. And at the bottom of this document, you'll find also a list of sort of resources that I think that Scott and I both think you might use as you're moving through the process. So, and I'll talk through those at the end too. Sometimes I think it's nice just to have everything in one place so that when this session is over, you don't have to watch the entire video again to remember what we said. So welcome. And so Pressbooks is built on top of WordPress multi-site, which just means that even though you're building a textbook, so to speak, that can be exported as a PDF and built out in multiple files, and if you click on this Pressbooks introduction, it will give you a brief overview of the types of files that Pressbooks is available in. So even though it's building a quote unquote book for you or an EPUB, it's actually a website, which is part of the reason that people like this so much, and part of the reason why it has such great uptake is because it allows you to build individual web pages and individual pieces with individual static URLs that can be linked out and shared in various resources. So, or various places. So one of the frustrations that I've had as a new administrator with D2L as a content management system is that it's really great for delivering interactive content, discussion boards, those kinds of things. But in terms of sharing content across platforms, D2L is difficult because some of the links that come out of D2L are not super friendly for copying and pasting into emails and those kinds of things. So the beautiful thing about Pressbooks is that it is organized very intuitively, and it's sort of set up in a hierarchical way. You can edit these hyperlinks, and then once your book is published online and you're able to sort of preview it, you'll see that everything is in a menu over here. So all of the different parts and things will show up as hyperlinks. I'm going to take you through how to create this and model this process in just a second. I'm just kind of giving you a higher overview, but all of these are individual hyperlinks. And then if you're looking at the entire book itself, when you arrive on the homepage, so this is the homepage link, you can think of this as like the mtsu.edu, the major hub page for your book. If you scroll down from here, you have what we are going to be calling an HTML sitemap, where every single one of these individual links will take you out to a page, and then you can sort of move through that. You can also copy and paste this directly into an email or directly into a Google Doc, and each one of these links will actually populate in that place for you. And I'll talk through that process as well. So it's super user-friendly. And then if you care about analytics, and if you care about kind of how things show up for you and who's clicking on things and how things look, you can go into your dashboard and you can start to kind of see who's reading things, who's looking at things, how many visitors you're getting per day, where they're finding you, and those kinds of things. And that's kind of nice because if you're using this as a resource, you get a much better sense of how it's being used, what's not being used, and those kinds of things. So I want to talk first with you about how to create a book, set up users, set up access levels, and then we'll talk specifically about using sitemaps and sort of creating cheat sheets and other usability tools to help your team understand how to use Pressbooks and get around easier. My shorthand notes for what I'm doing here are sort of listed in a step-by-step order. And then when we get to the users and access levels, I have a very kind assistant, Dr. Amy Harris-Aber, who's going to help me demonstrate what it looks like on the user side to be added to a Pressbook as a user and sort of what that looks like over time. So to add an account, if you're interested in creating a Pressbook for yourself or an OER material for anything that you're doing on campus, you'll navigate to mtsu.pressbookspub. I'm going to sign out so that I can sort of demonstrate what this looks like. So when you are in this page for the first time, you're going to come to this page and you'll hit sign up. And when you get to the sign up, it's telling me who I am because I already have an account, but all of this will be empty. MTSU faculty and graduate students can create accounts. So if you have graduate students working with you and you're interested in adding them to Pressbooks as editors or administrators or the various levels of access, we'll talk about those in a second, you can ask them to go ahead and create a Pressbooks network account so that you can begin assigning them to different books and allowing them to work with you on publications. So to create a Pressbooks account, I'm not going to go through this process because I've already done it. You select your username, which cannot be changed. So you assign yourself a username that you feel like is going to be good for you. Use your MTSU email and then create your password. It is easier if you hit register my book later because you won't have to go through the decision-making process of creating your book at that juncture. And there are some things about the book creation process that I'll show you in just a second that you kind of want to think through, particularly your URL and a few things that you can't change once that book has been created. I'm going to stop my screen share for 1 sec because I need to sign back in here. Give me 1 second. I don't want you to see my password. Hold on. Okay. So once you're in again and you've created your account, you've gone through that account creation process and you've gotten your confirmation emails and you've verified your identity and all the things that you have to do, you'll be able to go to My Books. And when you're on the My Books tab, nothing will appear in this section because you won't have created any of the books that you're going to make yet. But what you can do is go up to the My Books in the top left-hand corner. And there are ways to clone books that already exist in Pressbooks, but we're not going to talk about that today. That might be something we do in the future. We're just talking about creating new resources. So you'll click on Create a New Book. Right now I have books that I'm already a member of. These will be blank for you. You're going to create your webbook address, and this web address cannot be changed. So I'm putting Test OER. And then I'm going to name my book Test OER. I'm going to click Privacy No. This is just a recommendation, but I recommend that your privacy level when you're creating books and you're not finished yet with the content be set to private because this website does have really good search engine optimization. So anything that's not private, that's already open source, people will be able to Google and find. And so as you're creating things, it's better for you to set it to private. You can always set it to open and you can set your Creative Commons license or however you want to set it up in the future later on. And spoiler alert, Suzanne Mangrum and I are going to do a Creative Commons session in a couple of weeks. And we'll talk specifically about, oh, it's capital letters. We'll talk specifically in a couple of weeks about Creative Commons licensing and those kinds of things. So once you create your book, wait for it. It's happening. It's happening. Okay. Once you create your book, it shows up like this. And this is your dashboard for your individual book. One of the things to know is that you have a dashboard for every single individual book that you've created, just like you have a dashboard for every single one of your courses in D2L. When you're in your dashboard, your Pressbooks newsfeed will show up. These are just the blogs that they're creating for their own content purposes. You can customize this dashboard for yourself. And then the last thing that shows up is just sort of a basic framework for the course or for the textbook that you've created. So if you're looking at our Pressbooks document, I want you to pay attention to one thing. So there are 5 different types of content, and those are automatically showing up in your book. So you have your front matter that you can add. And they only have one level of hierarchy for the front matter and back matter. And then you have your body text, which has by default under most themes, a theme is just the thing that you set to make your Pressbook look a certain way. I'll come back to that in a second. Under most themes, you have 2 levels of hierarchy. If you want 3 levels of hierarchy, if you want to say you want to have a main body part, chapters, and subsections, you have to use one of 4 particular themes in order for that to happen. Otherwise, you can't have that 3rd level of hierarchy, which in my experience, it's been very useful to have that 3rd level of hierarchy when you're organizing your chapters. So I'm going to demonstrate really fast. Dr. Amy Harris-Aber, are you ready?
I believe so.
Okay. I'm going to demonstrate really fast how to add a new user, and then I'm going to stop screen sharing and let Dr. Harris-Aber screen share and show you what she sees on her user end for adding this account. It's fairly user-friendly, but I want to demonstrate a couple of things about sort of how this process works. So you'll go to your user tab. So if I want to add members to my team, I'm going to go to my user tab and I'm going to hit add new. And when I hit add new, I have a couple of choices to make. You have add new user at the bottom, and then you have add existing user at the top. I'm going to add a new user because I'm not certain that Amy has used Pressbooks before. And so I want to make sure that I give her an account that she can have access to. Hey, Scott, if I do this add new user process, this bypasses Amy's need to go and register her own account, correct?
Yes.
Okay.
That is correct.
So if Amy hasn't created her own account, then I do this, I create her username for her, and then she gets an activation email, and she doesn't have to go through that first step of creating an account. But if Amy has already created an account, which I don't think she has.
I have. I did it real quick. Sorry, while you were talking.
Wonderful. Wonderful. I won't demonstrate it that way then. That's perfect. So Amy, what did you choose as your, oh no, it's your email. So it's Amy, what, Harris?
Yeah, -Aber at mtsu.edu.
Wonderful. Yep. So if Amy hadn't ever so quickly done that for herself, which is great, then I would be taking her through this add new user process, and then she would have to do 2 different confirmations. So she would get a confirmation to set up her account, and then she would get a separate confirmation for being added as whatever kind of member I set her up as in this book. So now I have to choose a role for her, and there are several different levels of roles that you can choose. So when you do that, where did I put the roles? That's not useful. Down here at the bottom, I should have also done this at the top. There's a link to add users and collaborators. This should also have been in that subsection, my bad. This is the section of the Pressbooks user guide that will tell you sort of what the powers are for each type of user. For the most part, you want to set people up as editors so that they can have the most powers. You can also give them administrator powers if you want them to have all of those powers. And then if you want sort of read only, you can set them up as subscribers. So I'm going to give Amy the editor powers and add existing user. And so now Amy will get an email, and I'm going to let Amy just show us really quickly sort of what that process looks like and how it looks for her to activate that. So Amy, do you mind sharing with us what that process looks like on your side?
I do not mind at all. All right. So just go to my email. Stop me if you need me to do something different, Erica.
You're doing it. You're doing it.
Woohoo.
If I had Scott do this, then Scott has all kinds of like special powers. And so Scott's account doesn't look like normal people's accounts.
Good for you, Scott, with all your extra powers.
Yes. He is our OER god. He sees all and knows all.
Oh, all right. It's happening. I think it's happening. There we go.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So do I need the first link or the second link, Erica?
I think you have to confirm it with the second link.
All right.
Okay, maybe try the first one.
Okay.
We're going to muddle through this together.
Heck yeah. There we go.
There you go. So now, but that should have given you, can you go to your admin page on Pressbooks, and let's see if it shows up under your books. Yeah.
Okay.
So if you click on my books, then you should see that one under it, right? It brought you to that page and then.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, you're good.
Yeah.
Okay. Perfect. Thank you so much. I just wanted to kind of take through that process just to be sure that we were all on the same page about what that piece looks like.
Thank you.
Yeah. If you will relinquish the screen.
Sure.
Thank you. That was lovely. And then it is just one more step in the process if you're creating an account for the first time too, so that you'll have to activate it and then do that. So when you add multiple users to a Pressbooks account, I have found it useful in our English team to create a cheat sheet for everyone, especially if you're going to create multiple texts. And in Gen Ed English, we like to get real overzealous. So we're creating multiple texts with multiple audiences and multiple purposes. And so I've just created sort of a cheat sheet about who's got which roles and what they're doing and sort of what each textbook is for. If you only have one textbook going on, it might be just as easy to allow people to see their roles within the book itself. So you'll see that people's roles show up here. You can organize them, you can change them. And as you add folks to your texts, this user bar will get a little more complicated. And of course, you can go back to the user tab and you can remove folks and edit their editing and viewing powers over time. This is the Pressbooks guide. I'm just going to get a little meta with you for a second. The Pressbooks guide is a great overview of what a completed Pressbooks site or publication looks like. And we're switching into this idea of using an HTML sitemap for team-based authoring now. And what I want you to think about is this sort of works like a website wireframe or like an outline of where people can dump content. So when you're working with a team and you're co-authoring something, it's a good idea to have sort of a framework for where things are going to go and how things are going to work. So whenever you're in a Pressbooks publication, that sort of HTML sitemap where things are showing up on the website or in the OER text is always at the bottom. And for us, for the English Gen Ed team, for the resources that we're setting up, I created a sitemap for us that looks like this. So here's the static book URL. And since they all have access to this static book URL, they can click on this and log in automatically. The front matter, part 1, all the chapters, part 2, all the chapters, and then part 3 and all the chapters, and the back matter. So each one of these is a static link that will take you out to, if you're logged into Pressbooks, out to a particular page in that book. Again, all of these links are static when you create them, and they're customizable links, so you can make them say whatever you want past the / here. So that way it just sort of acts as like a content management system in the same way that your sort of buttons on the top and left of D2L work when you're putting in content. Again, there are 5 different types of content. As I mentioned before, the sections, that third level of hierarchy is managed in the WYSIWYG editor. WYSIWYG stands for what you see is what you get. When you're editing an HTML, what Pressbooks has given you is a WYSIWYG editor, and I'll show you in a second what it looks like on your side when you're editing on the text side, where you're just sort of typing words and you're not really thinking about the code that's happening on the back end versus what's happening on the back end and the actual code that's being written as you're typing the words. So this is example content from the Pressbooks user guide. It's exactly what you see when you're logged into the Pressbooks user guide. This is their complete book that tells you everything you need to know about Pressbooks. It's highly searchable and super, super helpful and usable. So you have parts, chapters, and sections. This link here will take you to the section in the Pressbooks user guide that teaches you about which themes you can use that allow you to have that third subsection, that third level of hierarchy. Otherwise, you're sort of stuck with 2, and I've just found that's not super useful. So I want to real fast show you what it looks like. Where are my tabs? I have too many things. I want to show you in our Gen Ed magazine what this looks like when you're thinking about levels of hierarchy. So if you go to your Organize tab, you'll find where all of your stuff is, and you can kind of see how it's set up. So you have your front matter. This is our part one, is the GWA winners 2020-2021. These are all individual chapters. And then when I go into my chapters, you'll see that we've put in the essays that have won these particular prizes. Now, when I preview under here, I am using one of these 4 themes. I'll show you where to find themes in just a second, that allows you to have that third level of hierarchy, which just means that when I'm in the menu, I can drop down and have that third level here where I can just click on these individual essays and read them. And then they also show up in the menu, and you can, expand them and collapse them. So to get this, you have to be in one of these 4 themes. And to get a theme when you're in Pressbooks, oh, real fast before we do that. This is the Visual WYSIWYG editor that I meant. And while you're typing all this beautiful text on the back end, it's coding it out for you and sort of putting it in HTML format and telling it what to do. So you can also turn on, if you do know how to code, you can also turn on the coding section in your Firefox or Google Chrome browser and kind of see the raw HTML. So to get to the themes that you can use, you have to pick from. You'll click on Appearance. And you pick from one of those 4 themes. We're using Ismav. All of these are fine. That was just the one that we agreed on as a team to use. But you select your theme, and then if you go through the directions here, enabling collapsible subsections, super easy screenshotted directions. They're all correct. Everything appears as it does here. Then you can add that third level of hierarchy in your Pressbook if that is something that you desire. And now I get to stop talking and turn it over to Scott to talk about interactive content, and then we're going to use the rest of our time for Q&A and letting y'all ask your questions.
Okay, let's see. Let me go ahead and pull up. I'm using Pressbooks first. Share screen might help. This is the problem with having 4 screens in your office. You got to find the right one. There we go. Okay, somebody give me a thumbs up if you can see. There we go. Okay, as you can see, this is the left-hand menu that Erica was referring to earlier. I have just an astronomical number of things over here. But in order to add any H5P content to your book, you have to first make sure the plugin is enabled. I don't know if we can make it automatically for the entire account, but I don't know. We'll figure it out. So I'm going to deactivate mine right now just so you see. There's nothing you can click that you're going to break. We can fix it. I know people are afraid to click on things if they're just not sure what it is, but fortunately, we'll figure out how to fix it. So you just got to click activate, and it automatically enables it for everything that you could possibly create in your account. Then when you're ready to actually create your content, just click on H5P. It'll pop up at the bottom. And of course, nice. Add new. It's not showing any of mine that I created yesterday. So yes, I can send, give me the hub. It's taken, there we go. So you will have access to all these various content types. If you scroll through the notes that Erica sent out earlier, the accessibility of some of these is better than others. However, even the ones that are labeled as the most accessible are still only as accessible as you make them. So adding alt tags, using high contrast colors, things like that are going to be items you want to make sure you stick with. I mean, you can find a plethora of these, but my favorite way to actually look at all the different content types would be actually just to go to H5P's site, which now, once again, I have more tabs open than I need. There we go. Okay. So on H5P's site, at the top, you can just click on examples and downloads, and it will show you all the various content types. You can click on each one to see examples. Some of these are obviously more useful than others. I can't really think of an instance where you'd want to put an advent calendar in your class, but some people may want to around Christmas time. You never know. And H5P is always testing new features, which some of the new features that are coming out pretty soon are all circulated around student response systems. So it's going to be ways to get more interactive with your class. So, I mean, if you use this in an in-person class, and if you ever use clicker technology, Plickers, any of those types of things, then that's something that you'll be able to incorporate. But just looking at all the various types, this is the best way to test them out rather than spend time within your book. Just test them out on the site first before you decide what you want to create. Let's see. I can't see the top of the screen. Back to that. Nope, wrong one. Those are all the books on campus. Actually, here, I'll show you what one looks like. Wrong. Where's mine? Here. And is it? Read. No, I don't want to edit it. I'll go to first. I'll just do it this way. I'm sure there's an easier way to show you this, but we're still figuring out the different ways to view. There we go. So interactive textbook is an actual option, which I'm not sure if you're going to want to put a book in a book, but this is kind of just to give you an idea of things that are possible. So this would be more or less taking your typical PowerPoint presentation and converting it into more of an on-screen, screen reader friendly option. And the students can navigate through these various items, which we're not going to play that video. And then we incorporated flashcards into this one. So to kind of give students a way to assess their understanding of the terminology for the course, because this astronomy course in particular, the terminology was one of the.
Hey, Scott, I don't think we're seeing your screen.
Why is it not showing?
It was showing up and then it went away. I thought it might be me, but I think others are notifying us in the chat that it's not showing up.
Okay, there we go. There we go. Can you see it now?
Yeah, we got it now.
Okay, so this is, here, I'll go back to the beginning. This is the interactive textbook. These are the different sections that are in the textbook. I threw this together yesterday, so if anything looks out of place, I apologize. But for this class, the terminology was the biggest barrier students had, so this was just another way for the instructor to assess whether or not the students knew it or not. You say, yeah, I got it wrong. And then go through all the different ones, assign it, and then we'll just go through them all real quick so you can see the report they'll get. As it stands right now with the contract through Pressbooks, the reports for this will be student specific and only the students would get to see these results right here. However, if we can convince the university that this is the way of the future, which I think it is, then they'll buy the higher tiered account, and then this will report directly to the LMS or in the D2L itself. So you could see your students' progress and or lack thereof. And so we incorporated these in all of them. And it's just another book. And then once the student gets to the end, they get a summary report, which you would also get this report at the end. So you can see what they actually interacted with, how many pages they actually read. It actually shows the number or the amount of time they interacted with it, which in D2L, typically, if you give students an outside link, they're not going to be able to report the amount of time they spent in the course. This is going to give you more accurate data. For those of you who are nerds like me and like, or a nerd like me and like data. I want the next chapter. Come on. Well, I'll do it the same way. I apologize for a circuitous route. So, you can also create interactive videos, which I'm a huge fan of because I think it keeps the students actually watching it. This video, I mean, I have it set up so students can't skip ahead. They can't just skip to the various questions. They actually have to watch the video. So this would be one way. If there's a particular video you wanted to include in your course, this is a way to just make sure the students are watching it, interacting with it. You can get the results from the questions that are embedded in this as well. That's pretty much going to be true for any of the content types that you can incorporate. Most of them will spit out a report. And according to the lady I spoke with at Pressbooks yesterday, you can actually get a report in here based or to let you know how students have interacted with the content. Although I haven't been able to find it yet, so I can neither confirm nor deny that claim, but it's supposed to be a possibility, so I'm sure it's just somewhere I haven't clicked yet. And I think I went over, but let me relinquish sharing.
So, Scott, I have a question about the H5P stuff. So
Yes.
when you're putting it in the course or in the text, you have to, I may have missed this. You have to activate something in the Pressbooks to make it happen. You have to do the plugin.
Yeah, you just create or go to the plugins menu and click on activate. Which,
Okay.
Yeah, and then that will open it up to your book. And it should actually open it up for everyone who has access to your book or who has editing access.
Okay. We've got some good questions in the chat about some of the stuff you were talking about too.
Okay. Let's see. Let me figure out where to start. Yes, couldn't see the screen. My apologies. There we go. Yes, I love Pressbooks. Kim, there we go. Okay. The HTML, what specifically do you mean can HTML be copied into D2L? Can the Pressbooks HTML be copied in?
I think I was meaning with the H5P, doesn't it create, when it creates the graphics or all that stuff, there's code behind it. Is that right, Scott?
Yeah, yes. And then
So,
you can embed that directly in D2L. Yes.
Okay. So you can copy that code and then embed it into D2L.
Yes.
Even with the free version?
With the free version, yes. Let's see. Let me find. Or at least that's how it used to be. They keep updating the free version to streamline. They claim it's streamlining the process, but they're moving more and more elsewhere. Let's see, save. There's an embed button option. Yes, you can do that. So let me share this again real quick. Yeah, so if you create the content in the website itself, which I think is easier. I mean, I'm a fan of creating the website. Then once you're finished with everything, there's an embed code right here at the bottom. And you can just copy the source code or you can do it with the iframe. The iframe is more user-friendly. The source code is more temperamental and doesn't resize as well if a student is viewing it not on a computer. So say they're viewing it on their phone, the iframe is going to change along with the monitor size or viewing device size.
Thanks, Scott.
So above Claire, Amy Whittemore was asking if we could use the H5P things in D2L as well, and how do you activate that?
As it stands right now, to incorporate them as standalone objects in D2L, you would have to just do the embed version the way I just showed you.
Okay.
If we purchase an institutional license, we've already got an LTI link created and it's already in D2L. Some people might have already, or I know a lot of people have already seen it because I've gotten a significant number of emails.
Mm-hmm. Okay. I think that gets to Anne's question about the institutional license, which I think you just answered. And Anne, you can create, we have an institutional license for Pressbooks already, and you can use that step-by-step process that's in our user guide for today's session to create your own Pressbooks account, and then you can create books within that. Bree asked, so we're saying right now that we will get data on student scores from H5P activities, or is this something that's coming down the pipeline?
Right now, only the students will see their reports because that's in the upper tier plan. We have the free, it's not really a free version, it's the pared down version, as HTML calls it, but that version has reporting directly to the students only, unfortunately.
Okay. Those are all really great questions. Does anyone want to share their screen and struggle through something with us and let us help you? Scott can help you with almost anything. I will try. But if you're trying to create things in Pressbooks and you want some hands-on help, we still have 20 minutes and we're happy to help you with anything that you're trying to add to one of your Pressbooks. And treat it more like a workshop. Oh, so Rebecca's asking, Rebecca, it is, I'll just drop that link in the chat for you real fast. So it is one of 4 themes that allow the sublevels. And here's the link to that particular section in the Pressbooks guide that tells you which levels those are. So it is any McLuhan or parent of McLuhan. I don't quite understand what that means, but there are like children of McLuhan, but then I tried out the children themes of McLuhan and they didn't actually work. So in my experience, which was, like hours and hours of just trying things out, the Clark regular McLuhan, not children of McLuhan, and then Ismav and Jacobs are better. Anything that says it's like a child theme, even though it says in here that will work and add the subsections, it doesn't actually work. So those 4 are the themes that you want to use if you want that additional level of hierarchy. I found in my experience that most things that you are trying to figure out, you can just do a keyword search for exactly what you're looking for in that Pressbooks guide and it will show up. So if you're trying to figure out users or roles or accessibility or whatever, you can try just a couple of different keyword searches at the top right-hand corner of that Pressbooks guide. And you will, you'll be able to find what you're looking for the most part. Yeah, Rebecca, any 4 of those parent themes. But I've found that the children of those parents don't necessarily replicate that. So I would stick to the parents. That felt weird to say, but that's what they call it. Stick to the parents, not the children. I don't know. Is there a limit to the number of users or editors on a book? I don't know. Scott, is there?
Not that I've found. I know, let's see. I want to say it's Michigan has a group, their entire history department, I think, is working on a textbook. So I don't know how big their department is, but if the entire department has access, then it seems like a pretty good number.
Yeah, and once you, as a follow-up to your question, Bree, once you open up your book to be read, not in private mode, and you license it as a whatever level of Creative Commons licensing you want, then you set it to open mode and you can just start sending out hyperlinks to whoever, right? And then people can just find it online. But in terms of editors, I think it's pretty open. Other questions or anything you want us to take a look at for you? I know that for us in English, Scott, we were trying to add in some multimodal content in our Gen Ed English magazine. And two of our grad students are here and they were working on that content. Elizabeth, did you have any questions about how to input? I don't mean to put you on the spot. Any sound or video or anything like that that y'all were struggling with last week?
Yes, so Paul and I both have editor roles for the Gen Ed magazine, and we did not notice the plugins option on our left side toolbar. I didn't think I saw it on Amy's screen earlier when she shared her screen, so I was wondering about that as far as the H5P.
Amy, can I convince you to share your screen through the H5P stuff again? We'll see if we can figure it out.
Oh, you're muted, Amy.
Let me get to where I need to be real quick.
You're such a good Vanna. Thank you for being our Vanna.
You're kind. You're very kind. All right. I think I've got it. Yeah, there we go. Is that what you need?
We don't have a plugin option. That's interesting.
I wonder if I switch her role to administrator, if she'll have it, because I have it as an administrator. So perhaps only administrators have that option to add the plugin. And then that means, Elizabeth, you couldn't add it because I didn't give you that plugin because I didn't understand that I needed to do that as the admin.
Yeah, we're all learning this together. So.
I think that's what happened. So Elizabeth, I will go in and add that. I'll add that plugin so that y'all can get that multimodal content. That's my fault. Sorry.
No worries. Thanks for getting that resolved for us.
Yeah, and Amy, thank you for sharing your screen. I think that's exactly right. And Elizabeth, you were astute to notice the missing plugin because I have the plugin and I just assumed that y'all did. So that's super helpful to know. Yeah. So Rebecca's asking in the chat, can y'all share an example of a Pressbook with interactive content? So I can do that really fast, Scott, if you don't have one pulled up.
I've got mine. I was just going to share a link to it if I can find it.
Yeah. One thing that is nice is that the Pressbook guidebook, Rebecca, has really great sort of models of all the different types of content that can be in a Pressbook. So if you're in the, and Scott just put a link in, but if you're in the guidebook and you click on the introduction to Pressbooks, I think in one of these sections, there's like a video that's, so there's a sort of how to publish with Pressbooks, and then there's this video. But the interactive videos that Scott's talking about use that H5P content, which sort of allows students to stop and move through the video and interact with the video itself, which Scott just put a link in for. And then Suzanne said that the College Success book that Ryan Corstange uses has videos, but I don't know if they're interactive videos. I think they're just videos like what's in the Pressbooks user guide. I'm not sure though. Oh, okay. Huh. Thanks, Scott. That's interesting.
I'm hoping the link worked.
It did. Yeah, we can get to your H5P intro thing, and then the Pressbook that Ryan uses, just to be clear, is not an MTSU Pressbook. This is a Pressbook that was published by someone else that Ryan uses for the College Success, but it is Creative Commons, so he is able to use it for our courses. And it does not have interactive content. It's just the static videos, just like what you see that are integrated into the Pressbooks user guide. What Scott is showing in his H5P book is a little different and has that sort of interactive kind of click and move around capability that the others don't. These are great questions. Anybody else have other questions?
I've received some questions about cloning books. So, or importing books. Has anyone done that yet?
I have not. Scott?
No, I haven't done it yet.
No, but I need to.
Yeah, I'm thinking of you, Kim. Okay.
I mean, we can be the test case. I don't know that we want to test it right now, but yeah, we can try. Why not?
We can test case. We can all learn together. Oh yeah. Dr. Tormey, let me grab the link here. Here is so Warren, here's your link to the user menu that we're using. So that has all the key links that we just talked about. Rebecca, you want to be our test person? You want to try it out? See if you can find a book to clone. You can share your screen. I gave everybody sharing powers. Do it. We're not judging you. Let's try it all together.
Okay, so I am actually working on I was actually looking at a few Pressbooks yesterday. I didn't realize that's what they were, but today I was going to go through them, and there was like 4 or 5 that I was looking at, and I was like, really, this is the content I need for my OER class. So if I can find that, if I can open the link to that, I don't know if that will work. Where should I go to get started?
When you're in this, go to My Books at the top
Okay.
left and hover over it.
Okay, so this is the book I'm trying to make, right?
That's the book that you made, right?
Right.
Okay, go up to My Books in the top left-hand corner
Okay.
and then go down to clone a book.
Okay.
And then find your URL for the book you want to clone.
Okay, I have it somewhere. Just give me 1 second and I can find it.
And it is a Pressbook, right?
It is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you can, what Rebecca's doing, you can clone any book that is published on Pressbooks, assuming that they have some level of Creative Commons copyright, which most of them do.
Okay.
And I won't go into those levels. Suzanne and I are going to go into those levels of licensing in a couple of weeks. Please come to that session. Shameless plug.
Let's see. I'm trying to find the document where I had the links to them. Let's see. OER material. Oh, it's probably here. Yeah. It's just taking a minute to open. Okay. Right. So I am pretty sure this one might be. Let's just check it. That's OpenStax. What about this one? That's also OpenStax.
I have a Pressbook open if you want me to try it, but it looks like you're almost there.
I got one.
You got it. Let's do it.
There we go. Yeah. Okay. So here's the link to it. Source book URL.
Yeah.
And then do I just put the
So
for my class?
No. You'll put the URL for your Pressbook where you want it to be implemented. Is that your
Yeah.
That's your link?
Yeah.
Wait, is that your username or is that the extension of your link?
That's it's the link I created to the book that I made. So it's my last name and then the 4 letters of the course it corresponds to.
Got it. Yep. That's right.
longest course tile ever. Okay. Okay, so that doesn't work. So it has to be a
Wait.
new.
Yeah, you're going to be importing it into, this is going to be like a new URL.
Okay, okay,
So then you can pull the content that you wanted out of it.
okay. All right. So let's just try, what was this book called? It was Principles of Economics. So can only contain lowercase letters. Okay.
We're all learning.
Okay, let's see if this works. So am I the first one to do this here?
Yeah,
Okay, great.
this is exciting. I have a Pressbooks book that I'm thinking about using, and this is a great learning experience for all of us. Thank you for volunteering.
Sure.
We might all be here for the rest of the day watching this.
Right, right. Yeah.
upload.
Oh, there it goes. There it goes.
It's okay. Now it's happening.
It's happening. Well, we can move on and I can let you know when it's done so people aren't just staring at my.
Okay, that sounds good. Oh, wait, look, it's really speeding up now.
Oh. This is so exciting.
Well, it's got on 7 of 167, so I don't know if that
Right.
I don't know if that progress bar is accurate. That feels like maybe we need to take that progress bar down a couple notches.
Yeah. Okay. I can stop sharing for a minute.
Yeah, that sounds good. Just let us know when it's done. I want to see what the rest of that process looks like. That's
Sure.
exciting. While we're waiting on the inaccurate progress bar, does anybody else have other questions? As soon as we start doing something else, Rebecca's going to be ready for us, I feel like. Is there a directory of Pressbooks, or how do we find existing Pressbooks? That's a great question, Scott. I typically, when I'm looking for stuff, Todd, I will Google like rhetoric and argumentation Pressbooks, and typically it will come up. So like if you put in what you're looking for into Google and then just add the word Pressbooks, I've been finding things that way. And typically it'll bring up, whichever one, because, there is a directory. Suzanne, give us the directory. Is it on their site somewhere? Suzanne, can you hear us?
Sorry, I muted myself on accident. When you're signing up for a Pressbook account under the Learn More page, I'm working on building that out based on what some other libraries have made, some really great LibGuides and stuff. But there's a few things, but I know there's a link to like webinars that Pressbooks puts on, to just give you an introduction to what it's all about. And I watched one of those and they mentioned I'm sorry, I'm trying to get there. They mentioned a directory and I just need to figure out where they put it.
Rebecca just shared the link. Rebecca just shared the link in the chat.
Oh, okay. Yeah. See? Oh, yeah. It's very obvious. Thank you.
Thank you, Rebecca. Oh, wow. Okay. I'm going to add this Pressbooks directory to the resources links at the bottom of this document. Thank you. That's so helpful. I'm going to put it right under the Pressbooks blog here. Yay. Now I can stop aimlessly Googling things. That's exciting.
Yeah, and as the summer goes on, I think we could get a training just for MTSU, and some other things too. But I'm just really very happy that you, Erica and Scott, are willing to do this today, so we can get started.
Rebecca, how are we doing over there on your cloning? We have parents, children, and cloning in this workshop.
100 out of 167 pages.
Okay. I was just looking at this directory. I'm just going to share my screen for a second. So one of the things that you want to think about when you're cloning materials, like what we're working on with Rebecca is that you want your license that you choose for your materials to match the license of the materials that you're cloning. Otherwise, you're going to be in violation of copyright law. So if, for example, you, and Suzanne and I are going to talk a lot more about these levels in a couple of weeks, but right now, everything that we're creating in English is all rights reserved, right? So you kind of have to think about, it will be open once we open it up, but once it's finished, we're going to create it as non-commercial share alike. But think about those things. When you're searching, you can search by filter, and then, oopsie. You can also search by network, and the network just means like we're on our own network for MTSU. So you could, if you wanted to see what was open for Middle Tennessee State University, you could find our network to see which books are open and which ones are being created. If you have, and then of course you've got some H5P activities that you can find. You can find publishers, those kinds of things. So BC Campus is they have a bunch of books. I use a few of their books, and then you can kind of search through the rest of these campuses to see what's available. I'm obviously seeing this for the first time, so I'm just noticing the ways that you can look for materials. Something else that I've been thinking about too for us, and something that y'all want to think about too, is that you can create your own covers for your books. So if you have students in your department that are particularly artistic, or if you want to have like a cover design contest or something, there's a default for the Pressbook cover, but you can create your own covers and sort of get creative in that regard too. And I noticed that some of the universities have a particular logo that they use on all their Pressbooks, or they have individual covers that are distinct to particular authors or departments. So something to take into consideration when you're looking around here for stuff to copy. I know we only have a couple minutes left. Rebecca, are we close or we're not close?
It's working on the back matter right now. There's only 8 pages, so
Oh, sweet. Let's hang out. Let's hang out and see what happens.
yeah. It looks like it's close to the end.
Awesome. And Suzanne mentioned that she uses Canva to make covers. Yeah, Canva is a great software for that.
Okay. So cloning succeeded. Cloned 47, blah, blah, blah. This is all the stuff it cloned to this. And then this is all the same stuff. So let's click on the new book, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Wow.
So I suppose this shows up in my books now. Yeah. I mean, now I have the 2 books of the same name, but one is empty and one is not.
Uh-huh.
Okay. So I suppose I can go into some of this and just start like changing it.
Yeah.
At will. Okay, that's awesome.
So you may want to, 2 things. You may want to check their licensing level to be sure that you license your book the same.
Right.
And secondly, for those URLs for the particular chapters and sections, you may want to be sure. I imagine that when it cloned the book, it just added a 1 or a 2. So for example, defining economics, when you click on that, it may take you to a URL that now just has like a 1 or a 2 or a 3 added to it. Like it says, no, it's not. Okay. So the distinction is okay. I lied. Never mind. I'm figuring it out.
Okay.
Forget what I said.
All right. I'll forget it.
Forget it.
Okay.
I'm thinking as I'm talking. Yes. Okay. Yeah.
Anything else I should check while I have it up?
I don't know, Scott.
Not that I can think of.
Great.
I'm sure we'll all think of 10 things as soon as you close it, but
Sure.
Yeah.
Sure.
That's super awesome. Thank you so much for being willing to do that with us on screen.
Oh yeah. Happy to help.
And Amy, thank you so much for being my Vanna and showing the other side of the process for adding users. I appreciate that. So Bree's asking, can we see what it looks like as a student? So as a student, what happens, I'll just share a link to the tech writing book that I use. So this one comes from BC Campus. And And so when students get that link, so they'll get that link and it shows like this. So you would just embed that link into D2L and then they'll see the Creative Commons attribution, the little sort of summary of the book and the author information, and then they click on it and it opens up and they get the drop-down menu and they have their front matter, their chapters, subsections, etc. So the stuff that shows up in this left-hand menu is the sitemap that shows up at the bottom here. So if you can continue to try to think about it as a website and think about these as menu options on a website, this menu at the bottom here just sort of shifts over to that left-hand side. And then it operates just like a website menu where these start to open up when you click on them. But yeah, that's after you open it up and it's not, they would not read it. They'll read it on Pressbooks. So Pressbooks is an external resource to D2L and everything is built on this particular website. It's just like linking out to any other website, but it's functioning as an ebook. But it has to be open. That for me and my team, we're creating everything privately until we're ready for it to be open. And then we'll open it up and assign the Creative Commons license to it. So until that is done, no one can find it through searching or through that directory.
So if I'm like working on a book for a class and I release it, like I publish it or whatever, make it available publicly, but then I decide I want to add more later, how easy is it to just make it not public until I can get those changes made?
Oh, well, if you make it private again, and Scott, tell me if this is wrong. It's my understanding that if you make it private again while you're making those changes, that that the students that are using the current version will not be able to have it. But what I would do maybe is like well, first of all, you can edit it in real time. You can have it available to the students and still edit it without making it private. Mm-hmm. But you can also, I'm trying to get to my test book. I think it's under settings. So I wanted to make sure that it was where I thought it was before I started sharing my screen. So when you're in here, I went to my dashboard for my test OER and I went to settings and then sharing and privacy. So book visibility, private, I would like this book accessible only to the people I invite. That's how we have it set now. But as soon as you set it to public, it can be found. And then you can change all of these settings as you want. Is that what your question is?
Your answer makes me think my question should be different. If I'm working on, like, for example, if I've got like the first 3 chapters done, but I'm still working on chapter 4 and I don't want people who are working ahead to go and see chapter 4 yet, what's the best way to kind of like, hide the stuff in progress and then make those parts public when those are finally ready?
Yeah. So I think that is here. So uncheck show in web.
Okay. Yeah.
So if you're working this is under the organize tab.
Okay.
And if you uncheck the box show in web, then I believe, let me do something really fast. I'm going to pretend like, let me just be sure I'm not lying to you.
Yeah.
So chapter 2, create, organize. So now I have 2 chapters. I'm going to uncheck chapter 2. And now I'm going to go to chapter 1. I'm going to go to preview. And so chapter 2 has a lock on it.
Mm.
So that means that it's not showing up in the public view.
Okay.
That's the answer to your question. Sorry, yes. I didn't understand your question the first time.
No, it wasn't well worded. That's what I needed to know.
Perfect. Well, actually, I didn't know that either. So now we know. Lovely. I think we're over time. All really good questions today. Thank you so much for coming. And if you'll have more questions, we're thinking about having some open hours for those of you who received OER grants to come in and get your questions answered and have additional sort of sessions like this. So we'll be sending out some more information about that. They won't be official LT and ITC sessions, but they'll be open Zoom sessions. You can just drop in and ask your questions just like we did at the end of today's session.